Following from my previous video regarding the Germans in Brazil, as you remember, the leader of the Brazilian tribe, Tatun Canara, who is half German because of the mother, who was a nurse. So Tatun Canara also reported to Karl Brugger for his book that the gods from the past in Brazil possessed flying saucers, electromagnetic flying vehicles, which is the kind of flying saucers that the Germans made in the Second World War. And they said, Tatun Canara said that these gods in flying saucers then disappeared into the sky again about 12,000 years ago. Remember, the sky and space, just like we see in the Vibes of Cosmos books. Don't go to other type of indoctrination. So, also Tatun Canara, the chief of the tribe, said that it could also be of interest to the Germans that there's a flying saucer in the 5-kilometer diameter underground rock city of Lower Akakor. So the Akakor was the city on the surface, and underground there was a 5-kilometer diameter underground rock city where, according to the chief of the tribe of the Brazilians, there was a flying saucer left behind by the gods 12,000 years ago. So we don't know how much of the German information and the information from the flying saucer in the underground city below the jungle in Amazon, how much of an interaction there was. But before publishing the book, Karl Brugger book, this report from Tatun Canara was stating these facts about the flying saucer. Then Karl Brugger, the German guy who was friend with Tatun Canara, he conducted his own research to verify the chief's statements, through which he found confirmation of many details, which he then included in the book that I've mentioned in the previous video. Now, there's also something interesting about the prehistory of Brazil before the entry into the war, because Brazil was on the side of the Allies. This all began with a visit by the Supreme Commander of the North American Armed Forces, who was George C. Marshall at the time, to Rio de Janeiro in Brazil in June 1939. And he stated, in the defense of North America, the general declared that Brazil plays a vital role. The presence of enemy forces on Brazilian soil and control of the lines of communication to Europe and Africa would pose a dangerous threat to the USA. Consequently, the coast between Salvador and Belém must be secured and defended against a possible invasion. There was this Panama Conference in 1939. Brazil declared itself ready to grant the USA supply bases and strategic airfields for defense. And just a few months later, the first North American bomber squadrons landed in João Pessoa and Recife in Brazil. We don't know how many of the Germans went to Brazil. And of course, we do know that there was activities of the Germans in Brazil and South America, and we do know about, I've mentioned about what was going on in Argentina. And also as early as 1938, there was a German warship spotted exploring the lower reaches of the Amazon. Also, another action which is documented in the archives of the Brazilian Air Force was the voyage of the ship SS German Carolino from Macaio to Belém in June 1943. So the Brazilian army forces were well aware of the German presence on the territory of Brazil. The Brazilian Air Force believed it was a weapons transport to this ship in June 1943 for German agents operating underground, and they tried to attack it, but they were unsuccessful, and the German ship just got away. So there are numerous indications of secret operations by the Third Reich in Brazil. There's also eyewitnesses that claim to have observed the landing of German U-boats to German submarines off the coast of Rio de Janeiro. A reporter from the Brazilian magazine Realidade, it's a Brazilian magazine in Portuguese, even discovered a German colony in the Mater Grosso region in Brazil, inhabited exclusively by former German SS members. And this is where the thing gets sad. Shortly before Karl Brugger planned his expedition to Akakor, possibly also to go underground and see the UFO, the flying saucer left by the gods. Interestingly, and again, you can believe in coincidences, whatever you want or how much you want, Karl Brugger was shot dead on a street in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, on January 2nd, just after New Year's, 1984. And the press of the time in Brazil reported on this. Remember, it was 1984. Interestingly, how just before he got ready to go to this planned expedition to Akakor, he was shot dead Who shot him and who killed him, I have no idea. There's some things that, of course, a common mortal like me, and especially things that happened so long ago, how can you know about this? But at least we have these slight details, and remember about the flying saucers and the gods, vibes of cosmos, okay? So that you understand what space is and what the sun and the moon are and everything else, and what the flying saucers are. We'll continue in the next video with more of the Germans, of the German restricted areas in the world. We've seen Argentina, we've seen Africa, we've seen Brazil. We're going to continue.